Originally revised from notes taken during Dale Carnegie's 14-week courses on human relations and public speaking, How to Win Friends and Influence People has since become one of the best-selling books of all time. Packed with various anecdotes mined from historic figures, successful personages, his students, and even his own experience, this book shows you the myriad ways to improve your relations with others. This book formalizes and compiles the lessons we learn or fail to learn while going about our lives. Thus, many of the principles outlined are already familiar. Carnegie simply reminds us to use them more often by showing just how it would benefit us in our interactions with people. How to Win Friends and Influence People don't want you to change yourself in order to attract others to you. It urges you to change your reactions to people so that they will like you better. Humans are creatures who thirst for the approval of others, all the while fearing condemnation. The psychologist B.F. Skinner proved through his experiments with animals that they learn more effectively when rewarded for good behavior than when punished for bad. Though we are more advanced, humans function in mostly the same way. When we criticize someone, we inspire resentment instead of change. Positive reinforcement, then, is the best way to proceed. Rather than criticize, condemn, or complain, using your self-control to be understanding and forgiving will get you what you want much quicker. Remember that people can be logical, but they are also swayed by emotion, ruled by prejudice, and motivated by pride and vanity. We all want to be appreciated by others, to have our egos stroked and our self-esteems nourished. By praising and complimenting others, we can pull them over to our side. But beware, praise and flattery are different entities. You must always be genuine and mean what you say. Otherwise, it keeps people's walls up and hackles raised. When dealing with people, we must forget what we want. This is because the other person doesn't care about what you want. Like us, they only care about what they want. It serves no purpose to go into a meeting with someone and demand that they do something to meet your ends. Get them to do it instead by showing how it would serve them. Humans are programmed to do first what is best for ourselves. By using that same mentality, we can endear ourselves to others and make them work for us instead of against us. How do you show care and affection to someone so that you can get that in return? Well, do not try to be interesting. People seldom care about that. People want to feel like you care about them. Everyone likes to talk about themselves and their interests, so a great way to make a connection is to ask a person questions about these things. It shows that you're genuinely interested in getting to know them. So how can you do this? Well, make a genuine effort to get to know another person and connect with him on a personal level. Show that you're happy to see that person and that you appreciate his time, ask questions, and try to learn something new about him. Remember names. It makes a better impression than if you just call every new person sir or ma'am, and make sure to use names in your conversations. Also, try to make them feel important. It is an easy task to feign interest and admiration in someone. It follows that such attempts are glaringly obvious, especially since people tend to be on their guard against these occurrences. Nevertheless, it isn't impossible to make someone feel better about themselves. By lifting their image of them, through a carefully thought-out compliment sincerely meant, you can lift their spirits and gain their approval. We all desire to feel important. We want to feel like our existence means something, that we are worthy and that we are appreciated. We want to be recognized. And once you learn to make someone feel that way, you will have gained someone whose faith in you will never be shaken. After all, that is exactly what we would want for ourselves. There are little phrases that can help you to do this by placing the time and effort of others alongside and even above your own. Apologize for taking their time or troubling them. Sprinkle please and thank you liberally in your daily interactions. Begin requests with "would you be so kind as to," or "would you mind?" Such small courtesies will buy you many things that money can't. Humans are prideful creatures. If we are ever faced with the need to admit our faults, we all want a graceful and dignified way to do so. By allowing others this, we can retain their friendship and goodwill. Rather than giving direct orders, ask for their help. It makes your request more palatable and acceptable. Doing so can ignite in others the desire to impress you and get them to be more creative. Additionally, they will feel as though they were a part of the decision-making process. When you want someone to achieve something, you must act as though it is something that has already been attained. Even if this is not true, you must act as though it is. By setting expectations in such a way, you make the other person strive to not let you down. Give them a good reputation, and they will see to it that they always live up to it. Simply put, making the other person feel good should always be part of your mindset. The simple act of letting the other person save face will lead them to part with a lasting good impression of you, them, and the relationship you shared. No one likes being wrong. What can we do when the other person has clearly blundered, and it is your job to ensure that they make it right again? Whether you are a parent, boss, or just a layperson, there are certain rules you can follow to get the job done. First, praise and compliment the other for what they have already achieved. Highlight what they have done right and never tell them that they are wrong. If you must do so, point out mistakes indirectly. Better yet, mix it into your praise by suggesting how the other person can improve. Compliments are sweet, but be sure not to turn them bitter by immediately proceeding to tell of a failing. You can also head off negative feelings by admitting to similar mistakes that you have made. No one is infallible, even if we want to be. By trusting in another the truth of your own mistakes, you give them the confidence and open-mindedness to accept their own. Lastly, you should also make it obvious that whatever improvements that need to be made are easy to achieve. If a goal seems out of reach, no one will try to get to it. Instead, show them that they are already on their way and close to getting there. As they improve, praise and encourage them, and they will transform into a better person before your eyes. All thanks to you. What is the first reaction that you have when you are faced with the possibility that you are wrong or have made a mistake? That's right, you become defensive. This is why it does no one any good to participate in arguments. Regardless of who is right and who is wrong, you will never convince the other of what you think is true. When you are in an argument, you have drawn a clear line between you and the other, and there is no way to erase that line or pull the other person across it. This is a matter of pride, and no one will simply let it go. Other than pitching yourself against the other person, an argument also convinces them that they are right. It is simply human nature. You would do the same. Therefore, you shouldn't. Keep calm and collected and watch out for any outbursts. When presented with our faults, we become the worst versions of ourselves, and that is far from the image we want to project to people. Never tell someone outright that they are wrong. Instead, give others the benefit of the doubt. Take time to step back from the heat of the situation before returning to it. In the meantime, do your best to build bridges of understanding and give them a chance by thinking through what points they have made. They may, after all, be more right than you had thought. If you have truly blundered, do not hesitate to admit your mistake. This will disarm the person who is ready to condemn you and make them sympathetic to you instead. After all, who would willingly invite chastisement? Taking time to see things from someone else's perspective may not be easy, but it's always beneficial. Not only can it help resolve a tricky situation, but it can also win the favor of customers and build a good reputation for your brand. Another benefit of empathy is that it can help businesses better predict people's needs and wants. Everyone enjoys a sympathetic ear. When tensions rise and tempers begin to fray, some understanding is often all that's needed to put the situation right again. Understanding some things about people will help you have some sympathy for them when they need it most. Sometimes an annoyed person just wants to be understood. Take some time out and try to understand properly. When you and another person disagree, the typical response is to go on the attack. But if you can, it's best to avoid arguments altogether, and even if that option is no longer available to you, there are some tips to always keep in mind in this regard. You can't beat an argument by forcing your argument on someone else. A friendly approach of trying to understand where the other person is coming from is more than enough to get you through any of your discussions. If you can prove to be understanding and thoughtful, you would be surprised how good of a debate you can have without too much drama or heated arguments. Sometimes it is difficult to identify who is willing to cooperate with you and who is willing to disagree. To get to know whether the person wants to agree or disagree, just acknowledge that you might be wrong, and you would be able to tell where their opinion sways from there. Criticism is risky, especially when it's not handled correctly. People are defensive by nature and can become quick to anger when they feel attacked. Even worse, criticism that is perceived as unfair doesn't just go away, it has the potential to have a lasting impact. If you're planning to criticize someone in person or via written communication, make sure you know how to handle it well. So what can we do if we cannot criticize people? We praise them. Everyone wants to feel appreciated in some way, shape, or form. Everyone likes it when someone tells them they've done a good job or that they're valued in some way. Sometimes, even a simple compliment can go a long way. There is an undeniable part of us that thinks we're superior to everyone else. We are smarter, stronger, and more capable. This is what makes it easy to condemn others and immediately get them to go against you. Rarely will we ever try to understand where the other is coming from. After all, they have already been wrong once. However, here is where we err the most. People may seldom see things in the same way, but never are they both completely wrong. Frequently, people are just operating with different parameters and focus in mind. There is a reason why someone else would think and act as they do. It is on you to figure out what that reason is. Once you have the key to his actions, you can better proceed in your discussions. What's more, you will also have gained insight into that person's psyche, their personality, and you now hold great knowledge that will aid you in all future dealings with them. Much too often, people are placed in circumstances that they themselves dislike or find challenging. Life isn't fair, after all. We all deserve a little leeway sometimes. You yourself would like others to understand your viewpoint, wouldn't you? By giving sympathy to another person, you are giving yourself a chance to be understood better. When they get the consideration of others, they too will be more open to your own concerns. Friendships and negotiations all require some give and take. By sympathizing with others and trying to think as they would, you can gain a lot of experience and understanding in return. Good listeners are hard to find. Conversations are often one-sided. We tend to talk more than we listen. But, in order to maintain healthy friendships, good communication is key. It's essential to show our friends that we're there for them no matter what and to actually hear what they have to say. So, when talking with your friends, be sure to focus just as much on listening as you do on speaking. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. If you want to make a favorable first impression and win people over, take the opposite tack, ask them questions and listen attentively. Be genuinely interested in what they say and ask follow-up questions. It's been repeated infinite times that you have to make a good first impression on people. In the book, Dale Carnegie teaches you how to do that and more. He gives tips on how to present yourself as likable and stay that way. Unsurprisingly, the first piece of advice is to smile. As it's put in the book, the expression one wears on one's face is far more important than the clothes one wears on one's back. A smile projects your happiness, and seeing someone and that person will, in turn, be happy to meet you. Another way to make people glad to see you is by greeting them by name. Names are held close to our hearts, and everyone loves the feeling of being important and cherished that blooms when others remember ours. If you forget, misspell, or mispronounce someone's name, you will have automatically turned them against you. Thus, you should always do your best to sear into your mind someone's name along with their face. This will place you in good standing with anyone you meet. Once you start conversing with them, make sure that your interest in them is shown clearly. This can be done regardless of whether you've known about them previously. It is ideal to learn about someone you will meet prior to your rendezvous. This allows you to have something to talk about that the person is immediately interested in. Don't worry if you don't get a chance to speak. Even if you don't participate, they are still likely to label you as a great conversationalist as long as you give the right responses, ask good questions, and prompt them in their speech. As long as you react with enthusiasm to the things others are interested in, you will forever be someone they like. If you want someone to agree with you, you must never let them know that that is your true intention. The best way to do this is by letting the other person do most of the talking. Let them express themselves, outline and highlight all that ails and woes them. Let them talk themselves out. Meanwhile, you must listen patiently and intently. They will tell you what they want and what they need. From there, you will know how to proceed. Guide them to give you more information, even if you know them already. Let them see you nodding and agreeing with them. Be happy when they share their achievements and triumphs. Ask them questions to help them on their way. When it comes to the time for you to present your own case, frame your requests in terms of what they want. At this point, you will already have a good idea of what that is. Throw your own points and opinions into the fray as they are getting into the heart of it, and you will find your own suggestions repeated back to you. Once you have achieved that, the person you are dealing with will do exactly what you want, while thinking it was their idea in the first place. If you want anyone to agree with you, start by convincing them that you are right. Find common ground and seek win-win scenarios. This is the best way to get people on your side and open up to you. When a person rejects a point of yours, it becomes very hard to change his mind. People typically become emotionally invested in defending opinions they've declared publicly. After all, their reputation for intelligence and good judgment is on the line. Most people are reluctant to accept ideas that they didn't come up with themselves. While you might think that this is just a matter of pride, the truth is that it gives us a sense of independence. So what do? Instead of trying to convince them that your ideas are right, make them arrive at your ideas. Make it so that they make the conclusions themselves. Politeness and courtesy always seem to get pushed to the wayside when the stakes are raised. It doesn't matter what kind of context is involved. When disagreements occur, people tend to become brash and loud to defend themselves. However, it is far from childish and naive to focus on the civility we grew up learning. Even the most high-powered and respected people rely on such things as friendliness and being soft-spoken to get their points across. Being friendly in a harsh world doesn't put you at a disadvantage. It shows others that you can be a ray of sunshine in a raging storm. All you have to do is show people that you are open and welcoming. This way, you will easily get people to agree with you. When you want something, set out to get them saying yes from the get-go. Frame the situation in such a way that presents their wants to them and have them answer in the positive. Emphasize that you want the very same things that they do. Once they get into the rhythm of saying yes, you will be awarded with the answer you want when you present to them your ideas and solutions. We all want to feel important. That is why, when anyone makes us feel superior to them, we want to be around that person for as long as possible. Anything they want, we will give to them. That is because they make us happy. Similarly, we can do this to others. If you want something done the way you want, be sure to keep the other person happy. It matters not what kind of ways you use to get this done. Be polite and courteous and ask for help rather than demand action. Phrase your requirements in such a way that others see how their own needs are met. Point out all the various benefits of doing a thing that will get them. The point is that the other person has to be happy in doing what you want. Otherwise, they will never do a good job of it and resent you all the while. Set goals and place incentives if you have to. Use flowery language and titles and praises. As long as the other person is smiling, you will have gotten your way. Does art imitate life or does life imitate art? You don't need to know the answer to this question to know that people aspire to be more than they are. That is why some strategies to get people to agree with you will always work. When illustrating a point, don't just use words. Show them exactly what you mean by playing out your points and giving them a clear picture of what to expect. This tactic is frequently employed in media and especially in advertisements vying for your attention and money. The positive effects of products are always highlighted through a change from bad to good or some other form of action. Bring the same kinetic energy into your own presentations by showcasing what you mean. Use any props you may require to your utmost advantage. If you can't dramatize your ideas, then allow the other person to become the hero. Everybody wants to be known as a noble person. Appeal to that sense of righteousness. Once they know that you expect them to do something that is noble in its motivations, they will rightly meet those expectations. Suggest to the person that they are doing the right thing and they will do exactly that. All you have to do is to reframe the situation and make them see that they are being the best versions of themselves by doing what you want. If all else fails, set yourself up to be the antagonist of the story. Challenge the other person. By doing so, you will encourage their competitiveness. Thus, they will work to overcome whatever adversity that is presented to them, even if they wanted nothing to do with it in the first place.